Yeah, we finally back with a new video on this YouTube channel. Sorry I haven't really been around as much. It's been because I've been working a lot and I've been able to be back skating and I've been hanging out with friends and stuff like that. So I haven't really got around to making too many videos and stuff. But now I should be back tonight with 4 videos. It's a rainy day in May. You know, can't go skate. No partners coming over or anything. No friends made plans with me, so I'll go ahead and make my comeback real fast. So today we're going to be talking about this abortion thing that's done come up with the Roe v. Wade being banned. Before I give my opinion, I would rather watch this news segment to try to get the ball rolling of the idea of what's happening.
Well, tonight, as we gauge reaction across the country, our latest CBS News poll shows that a majority of Americans do not agree with overturning Roe versus Wade. 62% of Americans want that 1973 ruling to remain in place, while 38% want it struck down. We're hearing tonight from not just voters, but also...
It's only really people that, after I'm done with this video, that want to hurt women in some way or another. That's the only people who want this turned over.
Lawmakers, including President Biden. From the White House now with the fast-moving developments, here's CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
Leaving for a visit to Alabama today, President Biden strongly criticized the
That's one of the worst places he could have visited.
High Court's leaked draft.
It concerns me a great deal that we're going to, after 50 years, decide a woman does not have a right to choose. If this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision.
On Capitol Hill, the news infuriated members on both sides. Republicans upset about the leak.
As someone who spent an entire career...
God. Why did they get this opportunist weasel little bitch Ted Cruz to speak on it?
Litigating before the Supreme Court, I'm utterly horrified.
And Democrats worried about the potential legal...
Oh, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, Republicans fight for nothing but for women to lose their bodily autonomy and shit.
Consequences.
This is a 5-alarm fire.
I am angry. Angry and upset? Angry and upset and determined.
Democratic leaders denounced the 3 conservative justices nominated by former President Donald Trump and accused them of lying to the U.S. Senate and defiling
We saw that shit coming months ago that they was going to try to do something like this. And we really knew that at the end of the day that they're going to try to repeal some civil right, whether it was the right to gay marriage or abortion. It was just only a matter of time before we found out which one that they were going to pick and choose to turn over.
The Supreme Court's reputation. 2 moderate Republicans who also support abortion rights agreed. Alaska's Lisa Murkowski.
If it goes in the direction that this leaked copy has indicated, I will just tell you that it rocks my confidence in the court right now.
Maine's Susan Collins said reversing Roe would be completely inconsistent with what Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh told her before their confirmation.
Yep.
The president said lawmakers supporting abortion rights should write them into law.
I think the codification of Roe makes a lot of sense.
Collins and Murkowski are sponsoring a bill that would never...
Everybody's been saying, like every political commentator that I watch has been saying that they should write the right to an abortion into federal law, so that way women have this protection regardless of what states want to do.
Narrowly protect abortion rights, but oppose a Democratic bill that broadly prevents federal and state governments from limiting access to abortion. The bill is stalled in the Senate, but Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he'll force a vote. But Republicans who oppose it, on record.
This is as urgent and as real as it gets.
As for this year's midterm elections, Democrats believe abortion rights will be a big factor.
The contours of the November election this year changed.
The bombshell leak was on the mind of several voters casting ballots in Ohio's primary today.
Maybe this is just a random thought, but a lot of people were saying because Joe Biden didn't relieve student debt and the Democrats didn't do, much of anything except get the country back to normal. They didn't provide much economic relief, and a lot of people were saying oh, that's going to cause the Democrats to lose in the midterms, but with this, maybe the Democrats got something else to run on.
I felt particularly emboldened to come out today and I don't know, a sense of responsibility, especially with a lot of like the reproductive rights discussions coming out of the Supreme Court.
I'm going to trust and hope that the Supreme Court does their job and does it impartially, and that this little stunt doesn't affect their rulings.
While Justice Samuel Alito writes in the draft decision that the ruling should only concern the right to abortion, the president said today that if it's approved, it could ultimately affect other rights, like the right to same-sex marriage, birth control, and privacy. Nora?
Ed O'Keefe, thank you.
We done. Let me make sure autoplay isn't on because, you know, this is going to be a short segment of me just ranting about how I feel about this whole abortion thing. Throat's kind of dry because I got like a small, like, seasonal sinus problem. Where do I even start? I'm going to start off kind of upset and angry and hyperbolic. So I'm going to say this is the line that's been on my mind, you know, since this morning. I fucking hate the Republican Party. These stupid son of a bitches are so desperate to move America towards a fascist America that they'll do any little fucking thing to make America into this little, or not even just make America into, or to make these little fascist little enclaves where they can control people's bodies and recreate this 1950s fantasy of women being under their control and minorities not having rights. With that said, let's talk about abortion. Abortion is a very important right for women. I should have wrote this down on flashcards, but I feel like I will have most of what I got to say just in the old noggin. See, I used to be a fucking moron. I was an anti-SJW sort of incel guy who thought like, women shouldn't, if they don't want to have kids, they shouldn't just be having sex with anybody, of course. And of course, that was years before, you know, I was able to, you know, get laid and have any sex. So I was kind of, you know, seeing out of that anger and ignorance and shit. But when you really learn the facts about this situation and you think about the things that, you know, are going on, you know, my opinion, of course, changed over the years. Because first of all, this is a complete violation of a woman's rights to freedom, you know, to rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because a lot of women don't just get abortions because they're just having sex and they just feel like it. It's a lot of women out there that don't want a child at the time because of several freaking reasons. Like, number one, there's a lot of women out there that want to be like business women and stuff and take care of themselves so they can have their own economic independence and freedom and stuff, which in turn stops them from being susceptible to being in relationships with abusive men. You know, that said, I know that probably made a lot of people mad, and that went further than I thought it was, but at the end of the day, you know, I feel like it's a woman's rights to guide her life, you know, and I shouldn't even have to speak on this as a man because, you know, it's like it's a woman's right to guide her life to go anywhere that they want it to go. And women are not meant, you know, by this arbitrary thing where people try to quote the Bible and use the word of God to justify it, or, you know, use the fact that women are, you know, behind because of social standards and shit to say that, oh, women are only meant to, you know, serve us and do this, that, and the other. It's just fucking garbage. And also, you know, Republicans have been pulling this one stunt trying to say that, oh, the reason why we are against it is because we're being anti-racist. The party that's built on fucking racism and Southern strategy politics, talking about there being, you know, not being racist and shit. Because, you know, when a lot of reason, especially why a lot of black women have abortions and stuff at a higher rate than white women, is because when you're a black African American, obviously you're struggling not only, you know, with being a woman, but you're also struggling with that intersection of being African American, and so could the man. So you're having less job opportunities and whatnot. You're you know, struggling even harder to get through college and to have financial support to not only go to college or to have a job and, you know, have a house and a car, but also to take care of a child. And taking care of a child isn't cheap. You know, that's a whole nother mouth to feed. You got to take them to the doctor. You got to feed them. You got to keep running water. You got to buy like extra clothing, toys for the next at least approximately 18 years and sometimes longer. So, you know, like having a kid is just not a walk in the park. It's a, I'm not going to say it's an experience, but it's, you know, or an adventure, but it's something that is going to be an ongoing process. And what makes me mad about the Republican Party when they say, oh, we just care so much about kids, we're pro-life. But what about, the fact that y'all trying to cut off people's welfare or take people food stamps and stuff? So now that puts people even further back and makes it even harder for people to care for and take care of children. And it's just no excuse for this. And like Elizabeth Warren, because I kind of feel like she does when I first read this, because it's kind of like, why do this? And I guess last but not least, a lot of people think that women should be punished for wanting and having sex. Long that we forget that women are human beings with, their own thoughts, feelings, motivation, sexual tension and desires just like men are. And it's not anyone's right to step in and say, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, I don't give a damn if you're an atheist, to say that, oh, woman has sex, woman wants sex, so women should be punished. That's not anybody's place to decide if a woman should be punished because, they were in a college and, they saw like an attractive guy and they did some things. So now they got to drop out of college to take care of a child and become economically dependent on the man or on the system. So those are my thoughts on Roe v. Wade being overturned. It's like I said earlier, these people are scumbags, the entire Republican Party, from the neocons to the fascists, that is trying to turn our country into some theocratic, fascist, white supremacist nightmare. And I wish I was being hyperbolic, but with all the transgender stuff, the opposition to, the black civil rights movement, and, this type of shit, it's hard to not think of the Republican Party as being overtly too far to the right. Keep hope, because it hasn't went through. Maybe the backlash should get them to reconsider, or maybe, like they said, they would create a federal law so that women can have the right to abortion through federal law. Even apparently some Republicans are on board, but I really doubt that, because a lot of Republicans will say things and then do another. They usually do that type of shit. They lie way more than Democrats. But yeah, though, it's awful. Like I said, women, it's not up to me to say it, but I'm just saying it in general, in context, deserve the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness as much as a man does. And it's not, a state's right to intervene in what a woman could possibly become. Every woman doesn't want to be a housewife. There's women out there with large ambitions, and having a kid might make it so they can't achieve them.